farm areas at Broadbent Park to go ahead and still continue to do that. So we'll still have a snowshoe tournament. We'll just pack the snow down and designate the area, same with the bowling and everything like that. Sports World is going to sponsor a disc golf tournament at the Veterans Park downtown. And then, what else do we have going on? So we go sledding. And essentially, KDSS will be down there playing music. The Boys and Girls Club will be setting up a dance house down at Broadbent Park. So we're really trying to add a whole lot of activities down there to try to get people to still come out of their house. We are still offering the awards for the snow sculptures, so $1,000 for first place, $500 for second, $300 for third. You know, I'm hoping that, you know, drawing a silver lining around, you know, the situation that we're in, that Broadbent Park will be more accessible for people in the community that wouldn't be able to make it out to Cave Lake to experience it. And hopefully, you know, weather permitting, the snow sculpture aspect of it will be more accessible to people because they'll be able to go home, put on dry clothes, get food, all that stuff. Whereas possibly Cave Lake in the distance was prohibitive for some people. So just trying to make it work. And I really appreciate, you know, the community's understanding up to this point. I feel like I got beat up a lot worse last year, and this year everybody is, you know, like we hear what's going on out there, we understand. So to have that community support and support from the city has been great. So I offer, you know, anything that's cost that's incurred by city staff to get snow in there or to do whatever needs to be done to make sure that it's the way you guys would like it. Of course, Tour and Rec will cover that expense. We're making sure that the fireworks permit is signed by the state and they've got their state business license so that they can go ahead and do that. But we'll be shooting fireworks off or out of Broadbent Park on Sunday nights. And I know that's been done in the past and everybody felt comfortable with it. We're using Lane Hendricks out of Lund. And so like I said, we got the fire. Keep your fingers crossed for some snow this weekend and the next.
And you guys have a plan B in case there's not enough snow for sculptures?
If there's not enough snow, then everything proceeds as normal.
Sure.
Nothing else on this long list of activities is affected by the weather except for the snow sculptures. And so if Mother Nature doesn't play nice, well then we can't do anything about that. Sure. You know, which is unfortunate, but.
Well, we appreciate all your guys' hard work in making something happen that weekend.
Well, you know, this is a community event, and as this develops, I want more people to come in. I want, you know, the archery club to set up an archery range somewhere and have it. This to me is an arts and athletics festival where the community really gets to participate and do something to contribute to the entire festival. You know, so that's what I'm hoping over the next 5 years is that this continues to be this great collaboration in the wintertime that helps drive tourism and you know, keep activity going into the winter.
Okay.
So,
thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
To finish out my report, we did have the governor and his wife here on short notice last week. They wanted a little tour around Ely. We took them by the railroad and the middle school and the First Lady's childhood home, which they really liked. They had it in for some reason. And it was a good visit. So we hope to have them back again for a longer period of time and get to introduce them to more people. We'll move on to item 7. It's 5:30. The mayor will recess the regular city council meeting for a public hearing at 5:30 p.m. on the following topics. Mayor Robertson, discussion only. Approval of the second reading of ordinance 727, bill number 2019-10, an ordinance amending Title I, Chapter 5 of the City Code of the City of Ely, requiring the City Council to create a code of conduct for its members, prescribing that violation of the code of conduct constitutes cause within the meaning of NRS 266.240, eliminating appointed department heads, creating a protocol for liaison appointments, and prescribing that no city official may be appointed to a department if such appointments implicate a conflict of interest, and adding a severability clause. So this is discussion only. If you have something you'd like to remark on this, please come to the podium. State your name for the record as well.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, the City Council needs a code of conduct for its members. Over the years of attending City Council meetings, I've seen officials act arrogantly toward others, attending meetings while intoxicated, leaving the meeting table and going to the bar in the back for a drink, causing a lack of quorum and ending the meeting at that point. I've been called an SOB. I've been flipped off by Edie's Elite, while a officer is sitting next to me and a former DA on the other side. Quite a show. I've been told that I have to use the back door at City Hall. I've had the sheriff's office remove me from City Hall for merely trying to pay my utility bill at least 4 times. How many times have you been removed for trying to pay a utility bill, Mr. Mayor? 4 times? 3? 2? 1? Don't tell me I'm the only one. I've been told F you, UF&P by a city employee. To this day, no ramifications. Too bad we don't have a civil liberties union here, because local officials have failed miserably in maintaining civility. The council needs a code of conduct. Those that can't be respected and civil have no business in government service. And indeed, this council needs to address that. Thank you.
George? Any other discussion from the public on this item? Seeing none, we'll close item 1 and move on to item 2. Mayor Robertson, discussion only, approval of the second reading of ordinance 725, bill number 2019-11, an ordinance amending Title 6, Chapter 12, Section 2, entitled Highways and Roads in the City of Ely designated for purposes of OHV travel, bringing the city code into conformity with state law and clarifying certain sections of the city code requiring that OHVs that operate on city roads and highways have liability insurance, adding a severability clause. All other provisions not designated shall remain unchanged. For any discussion, we'll open this up. Please state your name for the record when you do.
Terry McIntosh. I'd just like to pass this around. Hand it down.
Sure.
This, what it is a copy of my registration. And at the bottom it says, may operate on a highway designated under NRS 403.170 with insured in accordance with 485.185. And anybody that has this right here qualifies. They have this registration. If you'd like to look at it, it's right down at the bottom, right above my name.
Still open for any discussion on this item? This is a public hearing. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. We'll move on to item 8, discussion possible action, items pertaining to the public hearing. Item 1, Mayor Robertson, discussion for possible action, approval of the second reading of ordinance 727, bill number 2019-10, an ordinance amending Title 1, Chapter 5, the City Code of the City of Ely, requiring the City Council to create a code of conduct for its members, prescribing the violation of the code of conduct constitutes cause within the meaning of NRS 266.240, eliminating appointed department heads, creating a protocol for liaison appointments, and prescribing that no city official may be appointed to a department if such appointment implicates a conflict of interest, and adding a severability clause. As I stated before, for ordinances, I feel some discussion prior to a motion is in order, so that we get a motion that encompasses any changes that need to be made. And I'd like to start off the discussion with, on the first page, as Kurt and I had discussed last time, I believe violation of the code of conduct constitutes cause within the meaning is something that we had decided to remove from that. And then so that it's just the council is required to create a code of conduct. And then on item 156, that number 5 is supposed to be 6. There are 6 departments. The mayor has the admin department, and the other 5 departments are assigned up to the 5 board members. And those were the 2 changes that I wanted to make. So that's the same change on 157, where violation of the code of conduct shall constitute cause for removal within the meaning of NRS 26624 was stricken from that, which was what we had discussed at the last reading of that.
Gotcha.
discussion or a motion with those amendments?
Right, we discussed it, but I disagree that the mayor should have the administration department. It says under the city,
Can you pull your mic closer, please, so you can? Thank
heck, I'm looking down at top of that one.
you. Thank you.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. I think if you look under 266, and I said this at the last meeting we had of this thing, the mayor's responsibilities are very well defined. 266190, the mayor shall exercise careful supervision over the general affairs of the city. It actually says that the mayor shall, in exercising duty of supervision pursuant to section 1, the mayor shall from time to time give the city council information very relative to the state of the city and recommend such measures as the mayor may deem benefits of the city. I think that the mayor's responsibility is to oversee the city and not administer it as the administrative thing. I believe that the old ordinance also has our old ordinance gives the mayor exactly the same duties as NRS 266-190. I don't know why we're adding administration, making another department for it.
We're not adding, that's what the old code says. We
Where does it
changed
say
that
that?
at your request, so that the mayor is over the admin department.
Where does it say that?
Well,
I got the whole chapter 5.
sure.
Right here.
Wasn't that your understanding, Jennifer?
Yes, it's there
It's
right
there in
now.
chapter 5.
It's there right
The elected officers should be named by councilmen. Was that where they had the supervisors? Was under Title
Yes.
5? Departments of the city council. The mayor shall be responsible for the administration department. It's the exact same wording as they have in here on item B.
I missed that. I mean, we put that again because it's 5 departments. I think we've added that.
We've added a 6th department because it was 5 departments including admin. So the mayor would take admin and the other 4 departments who were divided up amongst the city council, leaving 1 city council member out. So we've created 6 different areas to be overseen. The mayor stays with the admin department as defined in here, and the other 5 departments get divided up as liaison appointments amongst the city council. Is that clear?
Yeah, I'm reading it.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, so, I don't know. I'm totally opposed to this right now. This whole thing, I don't, there's a lot of it, I think is just not necessary. I've looked at it and tried to figure out why we need to do the code of conduct when we talked about
Well, because it's
Henderson.
mandated by the NRS, right?
Yeah, but we had a whole list of stuff come out, and now how many times I've requested that we have ours similar to this right here. And it says, by majority vote of the council, and this is what Alpha does. By majority
So-
vote of the council, any council member may be punished or reprimanded for disorderly conduct during a meeting, and with the concurrence of the other council members, may be expelled from that meeting. The issue we have with that is also the fact that if I'm downtown having a party at the Fire and Ice thing, get drunk, can 4 of you guys kick me off this council?
Well, that's not what this is saying. This is saying we create a.
I know, and that's what I.
So, but that's the next step. That's not this step.
Uh,
The step you're talking about is next.
And you could put whatever you want in that code.
I don't know. How's everybody feeling? I just,
Don't get drunk.
The intent here, like I said, is not, as far as the liaison appointments, we were changing, because it says supervisors. And
I can
councilmen
understand
are not
that.
supervisors, we're changing to the liaison appointments and defining what that is. And then it just mirroring NRS, it's bringing our thing into compliance that says that we shall adopt a code of conduct. Whether that code of conduct says we're all gonna bring Twinkies and eat them during the meeting, or whether that code of conduct says, hey, we all have to go through the whole meeting with our left hand up. It's up to you guys to decide what that is. No one's trying to get anybody expelled here. And that's why I think taking out violation of the code of conduct constitutes cause should be taken out, because if someone doesn't bring a Twinkie, they probably shouldn't be kicked off the meeting, or kicked off the council. And I agree with Kurt on that. But that's really all it says in here. Do you have anything else to add?
No.
Anybody else have anything else to add?
I know we've seen this quite a bit, it comes back and back, but I think we did discuss taking out parking meters at one time and it's back on.
Oh.
Oh, sure.
And also, I think we were going to add street lights under number 4 on the street departments.
trying to remember what the conversation about parking meters was. Was it whether we should take it out or that we should leave it in case we ever do parking meters again? If we
Well,
put
I
the
would
parking
take it out and
meters
put it
in-
back in if we do get
Sounds
parking
good.
meters.
And then, what was the other one, Kurt?
Streetlights needs to be added in on number 4.
For street department?
Yeah.
Lights. Anything else to add there?
Not that I know of.
Any other discussion, or would anybody like to make a motion?
I would move to approve with your adjustments and Kurt's adjustments.
For clarification, those
Right.
adjustments
The
are
removal of
the,
the wording
that
for.
constitutes cause,
Mhm.
and changing number 5 on item 156 to 6 departments. That's a typo.
Right,
And then deleting parking meters and adding streetlights to 4.
right. That would be my motion.
Do I have a second for that?
I will second.
Do I have other discussion on this? Anything anybody else would like to add?
I'd like to have a roll call on it.
Sure. I can certainly do that. Seeing no, do I call for the roll call?
No,
Sure.
I can do it.
If there's no other discussion, we will call for the vote.
So,
Kurt?
I have a question. I guess my heartburn is if we really do need a code of conduct, where we go from here if this gets shot down. Because this has been in front of us like 4 times now, and I've had a lot of heartburn about it too, but I'm just asking the board what their thoughts are and how to get over this stumbling block, I guess.
And to be clear, it has been in front of us a bunch of times because that's just the process with ordinances. I don't
It
think
is,
it's
it
been
is.
more or less.
But I know there's been a lot of heartburn over it too.
There has been, and I think we've parsed it down to a pretty good area here from where we started. But anybody have any responses?
I'd like to comment on this. First of all, it's discussion only. The way I read this or understand it is we make these changes, so we're making a vote to make the changes. Discussion only.
Well, then we're.
We're done, okay, wait, so let me back up then. So, once again, I look at this thing, like, maybe not like Councilman Carson does, it looks like we have an item here that's got pork in it. If you want this whole thing to go in, you're gonna have to take on the code of conduct. If you want these departments identified, all the duties identified, and the code of conduct is involved in that, you're either gonna take it all, you can't take part of it. The code of conduct thing, and I understand what Ed's pointing out there, we had all the examples that the clerk got for us, so I think that needs to be a separate agenda item to, okay, what is gonna be the code of conduct definition?
And it will be.
So that's what I mean, if we approve this now, we still gotta go back to do the code of conduct. We have not resolved it yet.
Well, and that was Brian's idea, because then every council could change that more easily rather than changing an ordinance. It's just a resolution. If you guys decide something's not working, or you get someone else on the council who wants to change that or add something, it's just a resolution by the council, instead of having to go through the whole first, second reading, public hearing of doing an ordinance, which that would entail. It just made it easier for you guys to adapt the code of conduct to your purposes.
I think the code of conduct could be as simple as we could possibly make it. 3 or 4 lines like Elko's. I don't think it has to be anything major. But, I've heard from a lot of people in the community that they're all really confused as to the reticence of the council to pass a code of conduct. Or to even discuss putting one in place. The people that I've heard from, it's pretty extensive that they don't even understand why this is an issue to put something in place that says we should be held accountable for, however we were to word it. It sounds like the voters of Ely are really confused as to why it's even a problem.
I know exactly what you're saying. We've done it all these years, and all of a sudden it's a seems to be holding up this whole process. Again, I still say the code of conduct should have been spelled out, and they would make a recommendation using the one that Elko, the one you just had. Oh, that's a good idea, go, then we got the code of conduct, we don't need to go back to it again. And it's involved in this whole thing and be done with it. Because we're still gonna have to bring it back to describe the code of conduct, whether you're bringing Twinkies or in a snowball fight.
But if you make that part of the ordinance, it has to go through a whole reading and everything else. This was just an
And it
effort to make
should-
it
Just
easier.
easier to change
I
in the
believe it
event
should.
we find we need to.
See, and that's why I say, I think this thing was put together with, I'll use the term again, pork added to it. In order to get this through there, you gotta sign off everything else. I think the code of conduct is, to me, it's way out of proportion. You got NRSs that cover some of our behavior. It should not be in this whole thing right here.
Okay. Any further discussion? Anything you'd like to add to that? Jim?
No.
Okay. Ed?
I would like to say that, we've addressed something that was talked about earlier. My heart on code of conduct is, right now, if you come to the public meeting intoxicated, you're automatically out for NRS. Now, I can tell you this, a county commissioner was booted out for that very purpose, reason.
You gotta attend some city council meetings.
Now, there's no way coming here. If it can, there's rules against for that already, and it's established. So I think we should be able to carry ourselves in a proper manner during any session that the city is involved in. If it's a co-op meeting with the county, it's here, wherever it is, once we're in session, then we should have abide by that code of conduct. But outside of this, no. I mean, fire and ice might break my neck over there and do something stupid. Well, and right now, some of these are really vague where you can
Well,
do that. and
that's
it's-
why we can make it say whatever we want it to say.
Okay, but it's, like Jim says, it's part of this. So let's have the vote, see where it goes.
I mean, if it doesn't pass, Jim, I suppose you could put just the liaison stuff back on, and we could go through there, but, the idea of ordinances, personally in my mind, is not to address what's going on currently. It's for, hey, who do we want on the board 20 years from now? And how do we want to feel about how they're expected to act? We need to be looking down the road at a lot of this, and this is not 90% of what we do with ordinances, I don't think, should be dealing with what's going on at the moment, but what we're planning for in our community 20, 30, 40, 50 years down the road, but that's my take on it. So, any other discussion?
I'll add some more. I think if you read that agenda item, once again, it conglomerating other things. You start off with the creative code of conduct for its members, prescribing violations of code of conduct constitutes cause within. Then you got semicolon, eliminating appointed department heads, creating the protocol for liaison appointments, prescribing that no city official may be appointed, blah, blah, blah. So to me, there's 3 things in there.
Well, I only really see 2, Jim. One was the code of conduct, and one was cleaning up the department head issue. I know it's worded kind of legally, so. Any other discussion there? Did you call for the vote?
Yes. Councilman Titus?
No.
Councilman Carson?
Aye.
Councilman Spear?
No.
Councilman Allmer?
No.
Councilwoman Beecher?
I,
Motion fails.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to item 2, Mayor Robertson, discussion for possible action, approval of second reading of ordinance 725, bill number 2019-11, an ordinance amending Title 6, Chapter 12, Section 2, entitled Highways and Roads in the City of Ely designated for purposes of OHV travel, bringing the city code into conformity with state law, clarifying certain sections of the city code requiring that OHVs that operate on city roads and highways have liability insurance, adding a severability clause. All other provisions not designated shall remain unchanged. So going back over this, I did meet with some members of the community about it as well, picked it apart some. I sent some edits over to Carolyn after reading this a couple days ago. What I would like to do with this ordinance is add a definition in here for our own purposes on the difference between a UHV and an OHV. A UHV would be defined as large 2 or more person side-by-side vehicle fitted with roll cage, or what Terry McIntosh is referring to, and then OHVs being dirt bikes, quads, ATVs, three-wheelers, and any other off-highway vehicle not falling under the UTV description. I'd like to change penalties for UTVs if plated and insured will be penalized under regular traffic violation guidelines and arrests. The OHV shall be fined a minimum of $250 for violating this ordinance. So that would take into account kids on dirt bikes, kids on four-wheelers who are operating outside of the prescriptions for this ordinance. The curfew for UTVs, if plated and insured and properly provided with lighting, shall be exempted from any curfew. OHVs used on city streets shall be restricted to 30 minutes before sunrise to 30 minutes after sunset. A lot of these do not have lights. A lot of these are kids that should not be out after dark on our city streets at any rate. Speed limit, plated and insured UTVs shall be restricted to posted speed limits within the city. OHVs shall be restricted to 15 miles an hour within the city, posted on the OHV signage. So once again, dirt bikes, four-wheelers, three-wheelers, 15 miles an hour within the city, for the sole purpose of accessing the trails. UHVs that are plated and provided with lighting and insurance have no restriction there. The requirement to be operated within the city of Ely, UTVs need to be plated and insured and operated only by those with a valid driver's license or permit under the supervision of someone with a license. OHVs need to be registered with the state, green sticker, and insured only if the intent is to operate it within the city of Ely, and only for the purposes of accessing trailheads and public lands by way of the approved OHV routes. Must comply with all NRS's licensed, permit, and or under the direct supervision of someone 18 years or older with a valid driver's license. So that was the discussion on the age item. If you've got some kids, let's say, you've got your 10 and 12-year-old, you were going with them out riding, as long as they're under your direct supervision while they're on the city streets, it's fine. We're going to allow that as long as you're going from your house to the trail using the appropriate and approved OHV routes. And this definition I've added here would only be for the purposes of our ordinance. I don't want to conflict with NRS or whatever they're describing. But if you're plated and insured, which is different than the sticker, I agree with Terry and I agree with Carl that they should be allowed to operate as they're allowed to operate under NRS. That was a mouthful. I will entertain further discussion.
That was very good, very well delivered. The only thing that I would have questions on is under 49120. It says that the provision of paragraph A and B of subsection 1, developed by top highway vehicles which is operate during daylight hours on a highway designated by county pursuant to same for the operation of highway without at least one headlamp specifically in the paragraph. What that says is that if you have some of these OHPs, top highway vehicles, or ATVs, OHPs, all of them, ATVs, some of them have license. So how do you determine it? The NRS says if they don't have it, they have to operate in daylight hours. That's the only thing I think I would want to change, what you just said. You said a lot.
I did say a lot.
Yeah.
And that's just what I said. They have to operate during daylight hours.
But you said all of them. That some of them have headlights.
Even if you have headlights, if you're on a four-wheeler, you're not protected by a roll cage. It is dark. It is dark out here in the middle of the winter.
Yeah.
It is dark out here in the summer. We are in a dark sky area. I do not think they need to be on city. You can be out in the hills and doing
That's why
whatever
you
you
don't
want.
need headlights. The dark
There you
skies.
go, dark skies. You can be out in the hills, you can be doing whatever you want, but if you're gonna be on a city street, it needs to be by daylight hours. I don't care if you have a light. Unless you're the OHV, which has more protection, or the UTV, which has more protection, and they have a plate, and they have insurance, and, their lighting systems, I'm gonna wager are quite a bit better than what you're gonna get on the little Honda four-wheeler. But that's my 2 cents on it. Like I said, I'm open to discussion. The other thing I wanted to drive home is about the penalties. Because we do have a lot of violations from children speeding up and down the road and things like that, a base minimum penalty for that, for $250, for that, I think, is disincentive for parents to allow their kids to just run around town. If they get hit for one or two of those, it's a problem. If your play